Good afternoon. Join our small little group here. Okay, small group, but we'll get started. Assume you can hear me through the speaker. Hmm?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, that better? Okay. Um, the purpose of this meeting, which we try to hold every year, is to talk a little bit about the internet generally and things that are affecting us. And so I've added on to it today because it is relevant for today's internet. How to think about YouTube, how to think about blogs. These are things that you can get a lot of information from. So we'll start with a general guide and an update on the internet, deal with a specific subcategory, which is what do you do when you get to a database that doesn't have an index? Okay, no need to freak about it. There's lots of ways to get around it, but you got to. Then an update on chatbots, the artificial intelligence world. We hear lots of things about it, but there are ways in which it can be extremely beneficial. I'll use a specific example, but it is very good if what you're trying to do is at another level of complexity than your everyday searches. That's where it sort of comes in to be strong. I find where it's particularly strong is where I don't quite have my vocabulary right. And so if I'm doing a normal search, all it does is it looks for the magic word. Okay. But if I'm not using the magic word, it doesn't find what I'm looking for. But with the chatbot, you can talk about a concept and it'll pull up the concept. We'll talk a little bit about YouTube channels. Um, the world of YouTube has changed a lot from when it was just a little place you could go and get a video. There are lots of channels on YouTube, and the channels can be fairly specific. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about how to find them and how to subscribe to them. And then we'll talk about blogs and webinars and podcasts, which are been around for a while, but they're a little bit different. So let's start by finding your way around the internet. So one of the good ways to do it is our website. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So this is the home page for our website. Now, what I've done is there is on here a way to talk about recent presentations. And you go up to this little three bars in the, which is the index. So I mean, I can hold this thing still enough to make it actually work. There we go. So you go down to recent presentations. And again, okay, and you can see what I've already done for today is I've got a place where the links I'll talk about today are on here. If you click on that where it says links, it'll tell you all the links to everything I talk about today. You don't have to write anything down. Later on, the actual presentation itself will appear. So in May, we did the Ellis Island, okay? And that's the video of the Ellis Island. But what I wanted to really do was go here and go to home page. Okay. Um, Links to internet sites. So what I've tried to do here is build up a large library of interesting places for genealogy research. And you can find them on our site. And then when you come down to a particular one, you can click and it will take you to it. So here you can see I've got family search. Okay, I could click on family search and it would take me right to the family search site. So every time you see the little blue color in the underline. So we all know about family search. We're going to talk a little more about that in a minute. Okay. Running on down just to show you what we're doing here. There's Ancestry, there's Google, um, and there's Ancestry. Okay, here we go. Roots Web and WorldCom. Here's Steve Morse. Okay, this is the famous immigration site. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And you can just go on down, Cindy's list, grave sites, sites that have information on cemeteries. Um, then as you go on down, we get specific to newspapers. Sadly, there's no one place to go for newspapers. You got to sort of figure out by Googling where the heck your family paper is and then figure out how to get it. We go on down and we can go to military records, DAR, Fold 3, geographic locations, New England, California, etc. So lots of stuff you can rummage through if you're interested. Now I want to go back to family search. Okay, this is the entry page for family search. And as everybody knows, you got to have you got to register. It doesn't cost anything to use it. So I got to sign in. Okay, so when you're on the front page of family search, you can scroll down and you can find collections. You can search by place. So let's say I wanted to look at the, now let's look at Europe, more interesting. I'm going to pick Poland. Okay, and then we have various collections for Poland. Okay. Okay, now where you find information on here is on the wiki. So let me go to the wiki. This is a one-stop shop for everything you ever wanted to know about an area. So what's happening here is throughout the world, local people are putting on all the records they know are online. So I'm going to go now to Europe and Poland. Now that my wife's left, I'm allowed to do this. But Podlaski is the area that her family's from. So we're now into the Podlaski state within Poland. Okay. History, name changes, maps. Okay. If you know where what you're looking for, it sort of tells you where this fits in the overall equation. Towns, my wife's mother's family is from this area right here. And now we'll take you through different kind of records, databases, okay, Jewish records, microfilm records. So you can keep going. There's a ton of information here, okay? But when I first came to this is when I discovered, or one of the times I came to it, when I discovered this database, which is the Motherlode. It basically says, if you were from this area, we can now get into detail about your family, names, okay, and oh, perhaps we might want to have this in English instead of in uh, Polish, so we have a choice. So this is the go-to site to search for Polish records that are online. And through this, I've been able to take my wife's grandmother back 4 generations. Okay, I have all sorts of cousins and all the rest that we know. Okay, so let's okay. So we're going to stop this and we're going to go back to sharing uh, the presentation. Okay, so these are the main sites I think are valuable. Family Search, Ancestry, Google, and Google Gemini, which is their chatbot, Steve Morse, Fold3, American Ancestors, which is New England, Fold3 is military, Jewish Gen, which is predominantly Jewish records, but because of the way that they're collected, there's a tremendous amount of Eastern European information. And so that my wife's Catholic family from Poland and Lithuania, we were able to find a lot of information using this database. And there's a database called Find My Past, which has a ton of information on Britain, going back a long way. So we'll talk about these 4 specifically. So Family Search now has over 3,500 databases. Over half were either added or updated, typically indexed in the last year. If you do not have not really worked Family Search hard recently, I would recommend you to open it up, take a look at it, and understand what's there. So we're going to go to the catalog in a minute and see what we do when we have databases that don't have an index. Nope, wrong database, George. Share screen. There we go. Okay, we're back on, going to go back to Family Search. Okay. When you start Family Search, um, and you go down into this area here, you go all the way down on the front page, it has an area where there are collections. So one of the things I do regularly is I browse all collections and I click on last updated, have to do it twice. And these are the very newest databases they put in. If there's a picture over here, it tells you that these are online pictures, okay? But none of those have an index, okay? Actually, some of these do, I think, but anyway. Okay, what I want to do, okay, let's go to last updated. I want to go back to the beginning. Page 1. Okay, so you can put a collection title in here. I want to look at Alabama probate records. So we're going to go to Alabama. Okay, let's see what kind of records we have. We have 3 pages. Let's just find the, you can see I'm skimming through now. Probate records. So what I've got here is all the records that relate to wills and uh, property and all of that from 1809 to 1985. Big area. But I don't have an index. What am I going to do with this? Well, I'm going to start by browsing the images. Hopefully. Okay. And you'll see what happens first of all is the logical thing. It comes up with all the records by county because that's the way records were kept. All these records were kept in the local county courthouse. And if you're doing genealogy as long as I have, that means back in the old days, there wasn't any of this stuff. You had to go to a courthouse, start looking through the books. So we're going to pick on Madison. And now you can see, gee, we've got indexes. Here's an index for the minutes of the meetings, an index for the probate records. So there are indexes, they're just internal to the system. Okay. And if you clicked on one of these, you would be able to look up McKinney if you wanted to. It'll be an alphabetical index. You got to sort of jiggle around to get to the right page, but that works okay. So let's look at the probate record index. And now what you've got is literally a copy of the microfilm. This is just like you're seeing at a microfilm reader. It happens to be 225 pages. This is page 1. So I'm going to page 3. And on page 3, I'm, of course, on the A's, right? So here I've got, and you can find, here is Thomas Arnett, an account of a sale, okay, and it's in book 3, page 247. So if I go back now to the overall records, okay, I can go to book 3, which will be here, and I can go to page 247. Okay, here's I'm on book 3, and I just type in 247 here. And with luck, not right. So what has happened has been that while I'm told to go book 3, page 247, it's not the picture 247 in the microfilm. It instead is a page in one of the books. So you've got to figure out where the books are and figure out what page you're on within those books, okay, which involves a little bit of mystery solving. But eventually, you're able to, let's see if I go back to now. Okay, so this is the first page, so that's book 2. I'm going to have to find book 3. You can see the principle of what I'm doing. I'm literally finding the right volume, finding the right page. And while this may seem terribly kludgy compared to an index, this is often the best way you can find a record, particularly in all these page after page of things that the Mormon church went through and microfilmed and they put online. So I'm going to move from this one. back over to so what you really do is you go to the front of the volume or a companion volume to find a page. And so think about a naturalization document. Typically, if you, yes, you're allowed to move that as anywhere you want. Uh, so if you had an ancestor who came into this country and was naturalized, you will frequently be able to find the number and the location of their naturalization document. So they, for example, were naturalized in the San Francisco County Courthouse, and there might be a number, 247 is what it is. So you can go to another book that isn't indexed, but it has all of the courthouse naturalization records in order. Number one, number two, and eventually if you search carefully, you'll get to 247, and there it is. Okay. So it's a little bit of a problem solving to do. Now, the another case you have is you have a case where you know the date of something or approximate date, and you're in a book that is organized chronologically. And a typical example would be a will book. Okay. That, I mean, they aren't exact. Okay. You can't say that the person who died in December is going to be in the book just before the person who died in January. But you can get pretty close. And then you can, yes, you have to go through page after page. That's what we used to have to do. It's not that tedious. Okay. Particularly if what you're looking for is an important document. And of course, ultimately, you have a case where you say, okay, I know enough about the ancestor to know that they died between the 1840 census and the 1850 census, okay? And they died in Madison County, Alabama. So you pick up the book that covers 1840 to 1850, and you go through page after page. But it's online. It's a heck of a lot better than trying to get down to Madison County and go to the courthouse. Okay, ancestry. Um, Ancestry, once you get serious about genealogy, you have to consider whether you want to be a subscriber to Ancestry. If you're relatively new, best way to handle it is to take advantage of the local uh, access to it. So subscriptions, US only $25 a month. All access is $60 a month, which includes Fold 3. We talked about that. It's a military website, and newspapers.com. It is far and away the best location to get your DNA done. If you're going to do genealogy DNA, you do it on Ancestry. And it definitely is the best for accessing and comparing other people's trees. But the good news is you can access a version of Ancestry for free at the Sonoma County Library. Now, if you choose to use the Rincon Valley Library, I will give my normal caution. You want to be careful about when school lets out, because you probably don't want to be in the library at 3 o'clock. Okay. But if you go earlier in the day, they have computers. You can use your own laptop. It includes all the records. It's also free at the Family Search Center over at the Mormon Church on Peterson Lane. And if you're taking one of Denise's courses, then it can be substantially discounted because you can get a student rate. Okay, because you'll be a student at the SRJC. Okay, Google. I have used Google as a major source of genealogy information for years. It's particularly good for those who were born since 1900 when you don't quite know a lot about them, because a lot of the records you would expect to find aren't going to be in indexes, but you can find quite a lot. I find marriage records regularly for people who were married in the 30s or 40s, okay? Because they haven't been put in public yet by the state, but you can frequently find references. What the chatbots have done is made it interactive use of search routines the easiest way to get information. And I would say that Gemini, which I use, is the Google one, and you just type Google Gemini in your browser. So we're going to stop sharing this, and we're going to go back to this. And I'm going to type Google Gemini. Okay, how can I help you today? Unlike the conventional searches, when you're doing a chatbot search, it is a chat. It remembers what you have done and just goes to the next stage. So I'm going to use an example. I know my fifth great grandfather, Joseph McKinney, served in the Continental Army. He was in the 5th Regiment of the Virginia Infantry, and I know the dates of his service. So what I want to do is um, okay, so I'm looking for the history of that unit. Okay. It was raised in 1775. It participated in early battles like Trenton and Princeton, Brandywine and Germantown, and finally the siege of Charleston. Okay, so Trenton and Princeton. We all remember Trenton. This is the picture of Washington crossing the Delaware, as he took his troops down and got the Hessians when they were all drunk from their Christmas celebrations. Okay, so I can ask another question. So I don't have to describe who they is. Okay. The chatbot will remember who I'm talking about. Okay. So they're going to do that in Morristown. Okay. I know from history that's what happened. That after they beat up the Hessians, they went up to Princeton, beat up the British there, and ended up spending the winter in Morristown. And I know, by the way, reason I'm doing this is this is the period he served. Um, and of course, to me, the neat question is, ah, okay. So I now have my image that one of those barefoot soldiers who was poling his way across the river was probably my own ancestor. And talk about something that you can use to get the kids into genealogy. Okay. So do you see how the chatbot works as a concept? It is a chat. And by the way, you can set it up so it's audio, audio entry, audio listen, which is interesting too. Okay, so let's go back. Actually, I'm just going to go to Steve Morris. So, um, Okay. So I find this to be one of the most powerful websites that there is. And it's Steve Morris, who's come and talked to us several times, okay, is the guy who invented the 8086, led the group that invented the 8086 processor, which was the first really high-speed processor in computers. Okay. A brilliant guy. And he's done all of this stuff. He's the go-to place for figuring out who came over through Ellis Island. Okay. But if it wasn't Ellis Island, he can look at Baltimore, Philadelphia, Boston. Okay. He's been big on looking at the censuses. And what he's big on is helping you find your way around the census based on the street name and literally the block. So if you happen to know where your ancestor was, he can pinpoint where in the census that record is. Um, how to do matching, Canadian and British censuses, New York censuses. His family's out of the New York area, so he's big on New York, um, etc. I would strongly recommend it's just fun to go down and rummage your way through and see all of the stuff that he has. Okay. Um, Street Finders. That was what I was talking about. When you get to a website that's this powerful, it's really valuable just to familiarize yourself with what's there. Okay. Um, yeah. It will depend on which one. Um, is source. Yeah. Well, let's look at New York birth records. Okay. Oh, these are the various places that he's found it up here. So he's bringing information together from multiple sources. Okay. I would say at the moment, uh, it would be a question mark. Okay. Okay, so let's stop sharing this. And I'm going to go back to, no, I have to fix my screen. Oh, come on. Ah, okay. So I'm getting there. Okay, we're going to now move over to YouTube. Um, the way YouTube is constructed is, of course, you can see an individual video, but increasingly, what YouTube is all about is channels. Okay, where one source of good videos will produce multiple videos and then you can access them. So you can subscribe to them, which means you'll be notified when there's a new one. And the way you do this is you sign into YouTube using your own email, and that establishes an account. That's how it knows who you are. So when there's something to record, so let's go take a look at YouTube. Okay, so this is my channel, which I don't want. I want the Google account to be, I am on the right account. Okay. Okay. So let's look at a couple of the ones that make sense here. One that I really uh, like is Family Search. So I'm going to search for Family Search. Back to, oh, I did the wrong thing. Sorry. That's where I'm supposed to search. So what you've got here is a series of videos from the company Family Search, which is the Mormon website. These are videos that you can come listen to, and you can just scroll through them, see what you. So here's a beginner's guide to using Family Search. Um, and I think it can sometimes be fun to just go through these to get a sense of what makes what's going on. And videos are a big part of what I use anyway. Now, if you like this channel, it's called a channel, back up at the top, you can subscribe to it. And then what it does is it takes your email and basically sends you a notice when something new comes on. Another common, these, by the way, are all in the online reference to things I'm talking about today. So again, don't have to write anything down. So another one is Family Tree Magazine, okay, which has, again, a group of interesting. And these are curated. What this means is that the person who has this channel is both producing new content, but also picking things from the web at large to share. Okay. Okay, so here's one on podcasts. Okay. Which you can do. We'll talk about podcasts in a minute. And of course, how can I not put in Future Oakmont? Which is us. Okay. So it contains both genealogy stuff and future stuff. Okay. Now I'm going to do PBS. PBS is a lot more complicated, as you might imagine. You can subscribe to the channel, and then there are certain things you get for free and other things you have to pay for or be a PBS uh, subscriber, a donor to WGBH or whatever you want to be. But you can also search. So where is the search routine? Dang, I was. Okay, well, I'm having trouble remembering how you search. Bear with me. Okay, so finding your roots. This is one of the more famous genealogy activities is the finding your roots sessions. And some of these are free. So here I'm going to hit play all, and then here are a whole group of them that you can watch 7 minute long, talking about finding somebody's genealogy information. Okay. 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 So now I'm going to go back to blogs. Um, without assuming that there's anything that everybody here doesn't already know, blogs are simply places, websites where somebody can post lots of information that they're interested in. They can write a note, they can post a video, they can make a copy of an article, etc. In the genealogy sphere, Krista Cowan, we'll look at hers in a second, has a very popular blog. She is the genealogist for Ancestry, and she's a very down-to-earth person, let's say. Webinars are like Zoom meetings. If you participate in the Oakmont board meetings, if you ever go watch those on Zoom, you're actually in a webinar. A webinar simply allows for lots more people. Okay. And I get some great lectures. I'll show you how I get a couple of them, and you can look at others yourselves. And then, of course, podcasts are digital audio files that you can play. In all of these cases, it's useful to sign up so you get notified when new things come out if this is of interest to you. So I'm going to stop share and go back again. Okay. So I'm looking for Krista Cowan's blog. I have the website for this in the link. Okay. So she calls herself the Barefoot Genealogist. You can sort of see why. And here are a lot of different things you can do. And these are just her lectures. I mean, she's written down her thinking, wants to share it. She has a lot of interesting topics. Another place that's of interest is American Ancestors. American Ancestors, it's a paid subscription site, but a lot of the things that they do that are online are free. So here's their events as to the events. So assuming for a moment, you can do Louisiana research. You can pay, you don't have to be a member to do their research program, but there are also free ones. And the ones I often do are the books where you've got a book lecturer. This is about the death of King Edward and in this at the beginning of the 19th century, 20th century. And again, you can just see that these are, you can just sign up for it. Okay, so that's American Ancestors. One of the places that really has webinars that are very valuable in genealogy um, is Legacy. Okay. They have a bunch of free and paid lectures. And if anybody signs up for a paid lecture group, this is probably the one you'd be interested in. Okay. Okay. And then there are podcasts. Again, I've listed a couple in the website. So again, just episodes of lectures, unexpected findings in a genealogist chair, 6 minutes. So it's 6 minutes of talking about some fun thing that somebody has found, this guy has found. Um, okay. Well, that is basically what I wanted to cover, and I'm wide open for input. I want to remind everybody that there's in September, we're going to be looking again at our grandparents' generation. And what I want people to do is think about something interesting to share about a grandmother, great grandmother, grandfather, great grandfather. To use two examples, do you have your great grandfather's railroad watch? Or do you have some piece of clothing that you got from your grandmother? Okay. Or the one I have is I have the program from when my mother sang for President Roosevelt in the White House. Okay. So this is a something to share time. Next meeting. Okay, questions, thoughts to share, etc. Online, just unmute yourself and yell at me. Hi, Pat.
Oh, hi.
Anybody?
The last one that you just did, can you get into Ancestry, some of those sites? I'm not Ancestry, American, whatever, without paying for a subscription?
Yes. You get into the site, they won't let you go through the deeper indexes. Okay. Uh, but for example, one of the things American Ancestors has that's free is they have almost all of the Boston area Catholic Church records.
Oh,
Okay. But if you're not a member, you can't see the index.
oh,
Look, I mean, I know what church in Lynn the family was from. Okay. I
oh,
know
you can
about,
access it. You just can't get to the index. Is that what you're saying?
right. I mean,
Oh,
so,
okay.
so fine. I mean, I just went page by page anyway. It was when you got a large family, going page by page, you pick up people who you didn't even, oh, I
Mhm.
didn't recognize that name. I have to figure out who that is. But there are only so many Kutkowskis in Lynn at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other inputs? Okay. Okay, the question at hand is, have any of the major search sites really incorporated AI? The answer is not explicitly yet, but I'm pretty sure behind the scenes they are. Okay, so when you do a search, that's one of the ways in which they know how to give you additional hits, but they have not incorporated something like a chatbot yet, which would let you get into a conversational mode, okay, which is what I would love to do sometimes. Okay. But they're there. They're right on top of it. They're going to be next year or so. I'm not aware if anybody's actually done it. And I suspect it.
Well, everyone can go on a family history journey. Oftentimes in families, it's
Okay. I obviously hit the wrong button there. but next time. I think in the next year, you'll see both Family Search and Ancestry do that. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts to share? Okay, we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.